Welcome back to MunroLive. Today we have a 2022 Chevy Bolt EV that a few people are doing several different videos on, but we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the interior features and the materials and the technology used to create some of these interior parts. Now, before I begin, I want to go ahead and give some honesty and a little bit of explanation. When I am looking at a vehicle, I tend to point out a bunch of flaws, and I tend to point out issues or things they could have done to make things better. Now, I debated whether that is the best route because I have been in the design team and I know the struggles that they go through, and I know the fact that we do not see all of the problems that they solved. There's a lot of things that may have been in development, a lot of issues that they were able to get past. They were able to come up with some neat solution, and we will never know it. So my problem is, I cannot praise them for the solutions that they came up with. I cannot praise them for the successes that they had. All I really see are the flaws. I see what I assume are carryover issues. That may not be completely fair, but I've talked to several people on how I should go about this, and they agreed that we don't really want to cheerlead. We don't want to say, rah, 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 you did great. We always want to move forward. We always want to get better over time. Now, I point out some things that a lot of people will say, the average customer will never notice that. The average customer doesn't know that. They don't know what material it is. That's true. But for me, I want to educate people. I want to educate the customer. I'm certain that there are certain things that you've seen me point out in videos that you've probably noticed on your own cars. And I have to apologize for that. I am completely ruined on cars. No vehicle that I buy is good enough for me because I cannot afford those really, really high-end ones. So you understand where your limit is, you understand how far you can go, and you accept any of the problems, any of the flaws with the level that you're at. So I say that because I'm trying to figure out what level this Chevy Bolt is at. Now, this is roughly a $35,000 vehicle, and I want to try and make comparisons to other vehicles that we have reviewed. Now, the one closest I can come up with would be the Kia that we reviewed. Now, the Kia is a bigger vehicle, and it had some wrapped components on the IP that did impress me. But close to this size, that Kia was $55,000. So $20,000 more, and I have to ask, well, where's that $20,000 going? Now, and I'm going to make a comparison again to the BMW that we reviewed, which was a $74,000 vehicle. And I'll let you know why I'm going to make that comparison in a minute. Now, a couple of years ago, I was in the market for a new vehicle, and I drive an awful lot. And I was thinking maybe I should get my first electric vehicle. I contacted several dealerships, and this is what I said to them. I said, sell me this vehicle. And I don't mean do the paperwork, I mean create a narrative and create a situation where this vehicle fits what I need in my lifestyle. And I did. I contacted 2 Chevy dealerships and asked them about the Bolt, and all they could say was, oh, it's a great car and it plugs in. I'm like, yes, but at the time I was driving 200 miles per day, which is more than I'm doing now. And I was asking about the battery warranty life, how many miles, because if I have a 100,000 mile warranty, I'm not even gonna have a vehicle paid off before I'm outside of the warranty period on a battery. So paying for battery replacement during warranty period or during the loan term period was an issue for me. So I'm kind of happy I didn't get a Chevy Bolt, but let's look at what we see here. This upper panel, this is a thermoformed or vac-formed skin wrapped over top of this upper panel. Now, the reason why I wanted to make the comparison to the BMW that we reviewed earlier is this is the exact same technology that the BMW used on its upper panel. It had hard plastic below, it had a vac-formed upper panel, and then it had a cut and sew foamed armrest. So the cut and sew did cover a bigger area on the BMW, But the exact same capital equipment and the exact same technologies in that $74,000 vehicle is present here in this $35,000 vehicle. But I will completely admit that that BMW had better style. This is nice. It is basic. For a $34,000, $35,000 vehicle, I think that it is acceptable. That's one of the things when I was reviewing that $74,000 BMW, I didn't really think that that was acceptable at that price range for those types of materials. Now, if we continue on the materials, let's look at this top pad. So with this top pad, are we seeing a cut and sew IP? No, we are not. This is all fake. That stitching is not real. This is what is called rotocast or slush mold. What they do is they have a mold cavity that has all of this detail in it, and they use a PVC powder that they dump into that mold. The mold heats up and it spins around, that powder collects on everything and makes a skin. This is actually kind of interesting tooling and interesting equipment, because the way they make this, they will actually make a master model, and that master model may have real stitching on it, and they will grow a nickel shell off of that. Then they will put in some sort of a backing. Sometimes you'll use a sintered aluminum. You'll have water cooling lines in there, because you have to heat up that tool, set the material, cool down that tool, as all of this stuff is just rotating around, spinning, trying to hit everywhere. Now, the problem with this type of material, however, is you get inconsistent thickness. So this only really works if you are foaming the part, because then the foam will take up any inconsistency. So you have a locked A surface, but it has inconsistent thickness through it, and then you fill in with the B side with foam. So all of that is the filled in foam. So rotocasting. Rotocasting is something that has been around for several decades. It's nice in the fact that you can get many different shapes. A lot more shapes than you can get with a cut and sew. So sometimes if you're trying to solve some issues with formation, rotocast part can give you a lot of intricacy. However, I think that that really leads it to looking fake, because you get shapes that are not organic. You know it's not real, but it gives you the impression. So that's here, and then that's also on this bolster for the passenger area. Now, a common complaint that I have, of course, is piano black. I'm getting sick of it. It looks nice, just never touch it. A nice wide center screen, still has some dials and knobs. All piano black finish with a chrome detail, although I don't think that's chrome. I think that's just painted. So it is a very narrow center console. Again, the piano black top, push button for shifting. Now, since this is an electric vehicle, we don't have a traditional trans tunnel. Because of that, it allows a storage space underneath. So we have this floating island with controls and then some sort of a bin. That bin basically has two purposes, box of tissue and purses. Most people are probably never going to use that bin, but it's there. So this armrest is very hard. It's very narrow. I don't know if your passenger and the driver are going to be able to fight over it or not, but I'm assuming the driver's always going to win. Small storage container, all hard plastic, no cushion. So if you have things rolling around in here, you're probably going to end up with a BSR issue. I bought a used vehicle once, and there was a hidden storage bin I did not know about, and I kept hearing this rattling in my car, and turns out there was a keychain sitting in there for like 2 years before I actually decided to hunt it down and find out what the issue was.
Hey boys and girls, this episode of MunroLive is brought to you by our friends over at Henson Shaving. Here at Munro & Associates, we get excited about good manufacturing. The razor itself is made in Canada at an aerospace machine shop. The advanced machining allows the razor to be produced with incredibly tight tolerances. Those tolerances really matter when the blade exposure is so small. This very small amount of blade exposure eliminates cuts, nicks, and irritation. I really like the built-in channels. It's easy to clean. with a quick rinse under the tap. The blades themselves are recyclable and only cost about a dime. Turns out the blade wasn't the issue, it's how you support it that really counts.
So I've adjusted this seat to where it's the most comfortable position for me. I'm fairly tall. I had gone down as far as I could. I'm still slightly cutting off my field of vision on the top. Now this seat, I don't feel a lot of support on my thighs. I took a measurement from the main area of the seating surface. Now that's 19 inches, 49 centimeters. I took that measurement and then I compared it to several different vehicles that we have here that I've sat in the seats that I thought were comfortable. And the average for those was 21 inches, so a 2-inch difference. Again, it is a smaller vehicle. Now for me, when I was considering getting a small vehicle because I had a long commute, thinking that the efficiency mattered, the comfort of the seat would bother me for that period of time. So I actually went the opposite way. I got a bigger vehicle thinking that the comfort outweighed the cost of fuel for me. So I would question that comfort. Now, I'm a big guy. If it was a smaller person, that may not be an issue. So something that I routinely did to the salesman whenever I was going to look at a new vehicle, I would open the back door and get in the back seat before I did any adjustment in the front, because they would always adjust it as far back as they could to say, look how much legroom you have. Well, I did adjust that front for my size, so I wanted to go ahead and get in the back. I actually have room. Now, one convenient thing is, since this is not a hard back panel, my right knee is actually contacting the seat, but it is a cushioned contact. My head, I actually have more headroom than we had in that BMW. I mean, I can almost hit the headrest. Whereas before on the BMW, my head was right on the ceiling. So that was a low vehicle, longer vehicle. This is a very stubby vehicle. The door panel for the rear is not the same construction as the front. This is all plastic top to bottom. It does have a small padded section for the armrest. Now, to be fair, when I was picking on the Kia, which had a similar situation, I called it Fisher-Price design. I still think that's a funny joke, but it's true. So then their question is, all right, do we need to have the same quality in the rear seat as we do in the front seat? What's actually selling the vehicle? I like consistency in quality. Personally, I think this is a cheap way to save money, and by just ignoring passengers in your vehicle. When I buy a vehicle, I want to care about the comfort of everyone that's in my vehicle. Now, when we're looking at these seat patterns and seat material, of course, it's all vinyl, really. The perforated section may be leather. I haven't really dived into it too much to tell. It has a different pattern to the perforation, which you can see. Now, again, that pattern is just a style. It's a subjective decision whether you like that pattern or not. Let's go ahead and do the back hatch. Now, we don't always get to speak about the back storage compartment. Some of the vehicles we have, some of the videos we have time, some of the videos we do not. It is a small storage compartment, of course. It is a very small vehicle, but even with how small it is, I think that it's still somewhat. Think about it. If I have my luggage, I can put that in here fairly easy. If I have golf bag, golf bag's probably not going to fit in here. Reaching the lift, I think that it was on the Kia that I had to actually reach quite high over my head. I mean, this one is at head height for me, but a smaller person should still be able to reach it. So the base price of this vehicle is around $34,500. The options on this vehicle are a infotainment center, which honestly, it doesn't change anything with the screen. It changes some of the hardware, some of the speakers, and this paint finish. Paint finish is a $500 option. So whether or not you really wanted that paint. I thought it was kind of funny. I was listening to someone speak a while ago, and they said if you want to buy a good used car, buy an orange car. And this was the explanation that they had with that. White, black, and gray are all basic, boring colors. So someone who's not putting too much effort into their vehicle, trying to select a paint color, they'll pick a white, black, or gray. So if they put that much effort into picking their vehicle, more than likely that's the amount of effort they're putting into maintaining their vehicle, taking care of it. Whereas someone who specifically picks a specialty off-the-wall color, more than likely that person's psyche means that they are going to take care of that vehicle better than someone who's getting just the basic white, black, and gray. I don't know if it's true. For me, it would be hard to specifically pay $500 extra for a paint coat unless that paint was already on the car when it was on the dealer lot when I went to buy the car. In general, for a $35,000 vehicle, I think that it is very good. It has a lot of nice features. It has a nice style to it. I pick on the materials and I pick on the manufacturing method. I'm looking at these materials and manufacturing methods, and I see very similar manufacturing methods to the BMW that we had. The BMW, I would say, though, had a much better style than this vehicle did. And of course, it was longer. So that gets to the question of where is quality? Is quality in the material? Is quality in the style? Or is quality in the execution? You'll have to make that determination for yourself on what you value. There are benefits and there are detractions to each of them. You really just have to understand and know what you're looking at. And I hope that as you watch these, you'll start to get an education of what is that? What am I looking at? What effort went into making that? Because that's what I see. When I look at this, I see the assembly line. I see how many tools I'm going to have to make that component, the type of capital equipment that I'm going to have, how many operators are going to need to be on the assembly line, what are the quality control measures, what are the checks that we're going to have to do later on. Whenever I look at a design, that is what I see. I'm building that assembly line in my head, trying to understand what would I have to do to execute that. But again, the Kia at $55,000, this at $35,000, I don't see a $20,000 difference between the two. Maybe you do, and it depends on other features in this vehicle which other people may review. So I hope you'd enjoyed this episode of MunroLive. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe and have a good day. How many of you guys know that they make us mic up before we do these videos? They never quite hang right either.